The Crimean War, fought between 1853 and 1856, was a pivotal moment in European history. It marked a significant shift in the balance of power and set the stage for future conflicts that would shape the continent. It shattered decades of relative peace established after the Napoleonic Wars. The Congress of Vienna in 1815 had aimed to create a stable and balanced Europe, but the underlying tensions never truly disappeared. The seeds of this conflict were sown in the crumbling Ottoman Empire, often called the sick man of Europe. The empire's decline created a power vacuum that neighboring powers were eager to exploit. Russia, sensing weakness, saw an opportunity to expand its influence over the Black Sea and the Eastern Mediterranean. The Tsar's ambitions were driven by a desire to secure warm water ports and to assert dominance in the region. This power grab alarmed the British and the French, who feared a disruption of the balance of power in Europe. Both nations were determined to check Russian expansion and protect their own strategic interests. The Crimean Peninsula, jutting into the Black Sea, became the focal point of this struggle. Its strategic location made it a key battleground for control over the region. This strategically vital territory, home to the Russian naval base at Sevastopol, held immense military and economic significance. The fortifications of Sevastopol were among the strongest in the world, making it a formidable target. The war drew in not just the major powers, but also soldiers from across Europe and beyond, making it a truly international conflict. Troops from Britain, France, the Ottoman Empire, and even Sardinia joined forces against Russia. The Crimean War was a clash of empires, a struggle for control of vital territories, and a testament to the shifting political landscape of 19th century Europe. It highlighted the fragility of alliances and the ever-present threat of war in a continent striving for dominance and stability. The Ottoman Empire, once a mighty power that had threatened the gates of Vienna, was in a state of decline by the mid-19th century. This empire, which had once stretched across 3 continents, was now struggling to maintain its territories and influence. Internal strife, economic woes, and military defeats had weakened its grip on its vast territories. The empire was plagued by corruption, inefficiency, and a lack of modernization, which further exacerbated its decline. Russia, under the ambitious Tsar Nicholas I, saw an opportunity to exploit this weakness. Nicholas, a ruler with grand visions, believed that expanding Russia's influence was not only a strategic necessity, but also a divine mission. Nicholas dreamt of expanding Russia's influence southward, securing warm water ports in the Mediterranean, and ultimately gaining control of Constantinople, the jewel of the Ottoman Empire. This city, with its strategic location and historical significance, was a coveted prize for any empire. Russia's ambitions clashed with the interests of Great Britain and France. Both these European powers had their own strategic interests in the region and were determined to prevent Russia from gaining too much influence. The British, with their sprawling empire, were wary of any power that could threaten their access to India, their most prized colonial possession. The control of trade routes and the security of their empire were paramount concerns for Britain. The French, under Emperor Napoleon III, saw an opportunity to assert their power on the world stage and challenge British dominance. Napoleon III was eager to restore France's prestige and saw the conflict as a means to achieve this goal. The Ottoman Empire, caught in the middle of these competing ambitions, became the battleground for a conflict that would have far-reaching consequences. The Crimean War, as it came to be known, was a complex and multifaceted conflict that reshaped the political landscape of Europe and the Middle East. The war highlighted the vulnerabilities of the Ottoman Empire and set the stage for future geopolitical struggles in the region. While religious differences between the Orthodox Christian Russians and the Muslim Ottomans played a role in the initial stages of the conflict, they were far from the only factors at play. The deep-seated religious animosities added fuel to the fire, but the underlying causes were much more complex and multifaceted. The Crimean War was primarily driven by geopolitical considerations. The strategic importance of the region, with its access to key maritime routes and its position as a gateway between Europe and Asia, made it a focal point for the ambitions of several great powers. Great Britain and France, despite having Christian majorities, joined the war on the side of the Ottomans. This alliance was not based on shared religious beliefs, but on strategic interests and the desire to counter Russian expansion. This seemingly counterintuitive alliance highlighted the realpolitik of the era where national interest trumped religious solidarity. The leaders of Britain and France were more concerned with maintaining the balance of power in Europe than with religious affiliations. For Britain, the war was about maintaining the balance of power in Europe and protecting its imperial interests. The British government feared that a dominant Russia would upset the delicate equilibrium that had been established and threaten its global empire. A powerful Russia controlling the Black Sea and the Eastern Mediterranean was deemed a threat to British naval supremacy and its access to India. The British saw the Black Sea as a critical area that needed to be kept out of Russian hands to ensure their own security and trade routes. France, eager to reassert its influence after the Napoleonic Wars, saw an opportunity to challenge British dominance and expand its own colonial holdings. The French government was keen to demonstrate its military prowess and to gain prestige on the international stage. The Crimean War became a stage for these European powers to flex their muscles and secure their place in the new world order. It was a conflict where old rivalries were reignited and new alliances were forged, all in the pursuit of power and influence on the global stage. The Crimean Peninsula, with its fertile lands and strategic location, became the main theatre of the war. The peninsula's southern coast, with its warm water ports, was particularly valuable. The Russians had established a formidable naval base at Sevastopol, which gave them control over the Black Sea. Control of Sevastopol meant control of the Black Sea, and control of the Black Sea meant influence over the Eastern Mediterranean and the routes to the east. The Allied forces, comprising British, French, Ottoman and Sardinian troops, landed on the Crimean Peninsula in September 1854. Their goal was to capture Sevastopol and cripple the Russian Black Sea fleet. The ensuing campaign was characterized by brutal battles, harsh conditions and logistical nightmares. The Crimean Peninsula became a testing ground for new military technologies and tactics, leaving an indelible mark on the art of warfare. The Crimean War was marked by several iconic battles that captured the imagination of the world and exposed the brutality of 19th century warfare. One such battle, etched into military history and immortalized in Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem, was the Charge of the Light Brigade. This cavalry charge, launched by British forces against Russian artillery positions on October 25, 1854, became a symbol of both military valor and tragic miscalculation. The Light Brigade, consisting of around 600 cavalrymen, was ordered to advance into a valley flanked by Russian artillery. The order, later found to be a result of miscommunication and confusion, sent the cavalrymen straight into a hail of cannon fire. The charge, while valiant, was ultimately futile, resulting in heavy casualties for the British. The charge of the Light Brigade highlighted the chaos and carnage of war, where bravery often clashed with the grim realities of the battlefield. The siege of Sevastopol, lasting almost a year from October 1854 to September 1855, was a pivotal event in the Crimean War. This protracted siege, marked by relentless bombardments, trench warfare and disease, tested the limits of both the attackers and the defenders. The siege showcased the changing nature of warfare, with new technologies like rifled muskets and explosive shells increasing the lethality of the battlefield. The Allied forces, despite their superior firepower, faced fierce resistance from the Russians. The defenders of Sevastopol, led by commanders like Eduard Totleben, employed innovative defensive tactics and utilized the city's natural defenses effectively. The siege dragged on, costing both sides dearly in terms of men and resources. The fall of Sevastopol in September 1855 marked a turning point in the war, paving the way for peace negotiations and ultimately leading to Russia's defeat.